So we finished the most auspicious Rukmini Vivaham, or the wedding of Rukmini with Krishna. Then after that, Brahman proceeds to describe the other principal spouses Krishna had. Everyone aware probably of Satyabhama, who Krishna marries, and then Jambavati, who's the daughter of Jambavan, and Kalindi, and so on. And many interesting pastimes of Krishna are given, such as getting the Parijata tree for Satyabhama, killing Narakasura. Narakasura's Vadha, as well known, is what is marked as Naraka Chaturdashi, which is the Diwali festival. And there is the interesting incident of Syamantaka gem. There is a very precious gem called Syamantaka gem that comes and that creates everyone to be attached to it and to even doubt Krishna. So this wonderful gem comes into Dwaraka, and because this gem is lost, everyone doubts who has taken it, and people even doubt Krishna. So that goes to show how great wealth or something very materially opulent can actually cause confusion, strife, and conflict if there is any kind of attachment. So the Samantaka gem incident reveals that. And then after that, Krishna's friendship with the Pandavas is described. Krishna goes to Indraprastha to help Yudhishthira conduct the Rajasuya Yajna, and there in the Rajasuya Yajna, Krishna is given the highest place of honor, which rankles Shishupala. As we already saw, Shishupala was extremely angry at being denied what he thought was his bride as Rukmini, and therefore he was nursing that hatred. And in the Rajasuya sacrifice also, he had tremendous hatred for Krishna because he was also invited as a king. All the kings were invited for this, but Krishna was given the highest place of honor that rankled this Shishupala, and he started hurling abuses. And at the right point, Krishna kills Shishupala. And then after that, Krishna also kills a few other demons and evil characters such as Paundraka, Shalva, and so on. Then Jarasandha, who as we saw was causing all the trouble, finally Jarasandha is killed by Bhima. So Krishna takes Bhima to the place of Jarasandha and challenges him to a duel. So Jarasandha accepts this duel with Bhima, and then in this duel, Jarasandha is killed by Bhima with the help of Krishna. Jarasandha's killing is also very symbolic because Jarasandha, it is said he has a boon that no matter what happens, even if one kills him, he'll come back alive. So what is said is Jarasandha has to be split into two and put in two opposite directions so that he cannot unite, because even otherwise, even if his body is cut into half, he comes back by reuniting alive. So this is also highly symbolic because Jarasandha represents again the ego. The ego is nothing but the false knot between the pure being and material energy. So Jarasandha represents that knot that keeps coming back. When we even recognize that the material energy and the pure being do not have any interloper as ego in between, there is no separate me that makes all the actions of the divine energy happen. Even when we recognize that, this false ego keeps coming back. That's what Jarasandha constantly coming back represents. So he has to be cut into two and put in two directions opposite so that he never comes back. That symbolizes how one has to once and for all get rid of this false idea of me, which associates the pure awareness with this material energy as me. So this symbolic killing of Jarasandha happened. So many such wonderful incidents are described. And then Shuka Brahmam comes to a very beautiful episode which is well known and which is highly glorified, which is the event or which is the pastime of Sudama, the friendship with Sudama, who is also called as Kuchela. So Parikshit asks a question after all these pastimes of Krishna with the various spouses, killing of various demons are all described. Parikshit wants to hear something very sweet again. So he says, please tell us, I'm sure there is more pastimes of Krishna that you can tell us. Please tell us something because just listening to any pastime of Krishna is so sweet. Tell us more. He says, Bhagavan, Yani cha anyani mukundasya mahatmanah viryani ananta viryasya shrotum ichchamahe prabhu. He says, of this great Krishna, Mukunda, please tell me more. I still am not sated hearing about his pastimes. Because he says, only that speech that is glorifying the pastimes of Krishna, that is glorifying the essence of pure being, that listening, which is listening to this, that action which is associated in serving this, that memory which is used in contemplating upon this is considered to be worthwhile. He says, Savag yaya tasya gunan granite karaucha tat karma karau manascha smared vasantam stira jangameshu shrunoti tat punyakatasa karnaha. He says that is the whole purpose of all these senses. So senses are not to be seen as enemies when we recognize that every sense can be engaged in glorifying, in listening, in remembering, in contemplating, in serving, and thereby being free of the false sense of ego. So please tell us more, and we would like to listen. When this submission was made to Shuka Brahmam went quiet for a moment, it is said. Then he says, okay, let me tell you a very beautiful incident. There was once this old Brahmana called Sudama who was very poor. He lived in this place which is presently called as Porbandar, and it is in the same province of Gujarat as we know, some distance from Dwarka. And he was living a very poor life. He had a very pious wife, he had children, and he was completely renounced, and yet he was completely poor as well. He had no good clothing to wear. That's why he was called as Kuchela. Chela means dress, and Kuchela means one who has very tattered dress. And his wife was also wearing very tattered clothing. The children were not fed well. They were looking very frail and emaciated, but none of this bothered Kuchela. He was completely absorbed in his divine presence within, remembering and contemplating on his association with Krishna, as well as abiding in the silence of being. So, how does he know Krishna? Because he went to the same Gurukula as Krishna, which at Sandipani. We saw in Mathura, after Kamsa was killed and Mathura was liberated, the first thing that happened was Vasudeva gave the second initiation, which is the Yajñopavita for Krishna and Balaram, with the help of Garga Muni. And then he was sent to the Gurukulam of Sandipani, which is in present day Ujjain, called Avanti. So there, Krishna spent 64 days. We saw that. He only spent 64 days to learn all the 64 arts, and then he came back. So there he had many friends. One of them was this Sudama. Sudama was a student along with Krishna and Balaram in the Gurukulam of Sandipani. and they had especially a very close association, Krishna and Sudama. They were very dear friends. So the wife of Sudama therefore tells this Sudama, she approaches him with great respect. She says, Nanu Brahman Bhagavataha Saka Sakshat Shriyapatihi Brahmanyascha Sharanyascha Bhagavan Satvatar. She says, I know that your dear friend is none other than the Lord of Lakshmi, Shripati. And he is not only the Lord of Lakshmi, he is the Lord of all devotees. He is one who takes care of all who are in any suffering, and he is the ruler of Dwaraka. And so she asks very humbly, because the wife is also very pious and she does not want to ask her husband to simply approach Krishna and ask for material wealth or help. But at the same time, they are in such suffering. So, with great grace, she says, maybe you can approach him and just ask him for some grace or something. At least, please go see him. So, she says very humbly this way. And the Sudama contemplates on it, and he says, while I do not want to ask him for anything, my dear friend Krishna, it does give me an opportunity to go see him because of whatever my wife is saying. So it is okay. So he comes to a recognition that it is fine. Let me go see him and come. And it's always a great blessing to get darshan of Krishna. Let me go see him and come. So then he asks her, but what can I take for him? Can we have to take something to meet Krishna? So she searches the house, and what she finds is parched rice, beaten parched rice. And all she has is a rag of a cloth. So she takes a rag, in that puts this parched rice, makes it into a bundle, gives it to Sudama and says, this is all we have. And he also accepts it very happily and says, my Krishna will take it, so I will go. But then he goes, and then when he enters this great palatial city of Dwaraka, he sees all these palaces and he doesn't know how to even meet Krishna, because this is such a opulent city. He lives in a small hut, and here he sees these palaces and he is overwhelmed. But then Krishna has already instructed that anyone who comes who is sagely, who's a real Brahmana, please send him directly to where I am. And his gods, his aides are very perceptive as well on who should be allowed. So as soon as they see Sudama, he is directly ushered into the quarters of Krishna. Not just Krishna has instructed them that no matter where I am, no matter what situation it is, please make them never wait. Just take them to me. So in this particular moment, it is said that Krishna was in the inner quarters in the bed of with Rukmini. And when he is sitting in the bed with Rukmini, it is thus in this moment that Sudama is ushered directly into the quarters of Krishna. As soon as he sees Sudama, Krishna immediately gets up. Sudama for a moment has hesitated because he doesn't know, with all these years that has passed by, how will Krishna receive me? But Krishna immediately gets up, takes him, makes him sit on his very bed where he was sitting. And then Krishna first brings water, washes his feet, and takes that water and sprinkles on him, and looks at Rukmini, who instantly takes a fan and blows for Sudama because it's a hot day. Sudama has come. So Sudama is in tears already, looking at this reception, what he was expecting, what he was fearing. Of course, he knew in the heart of his hearts that his Krishna will always be dear to him, and yet to be seated in the very bed of Krishna, to have his feet washed by Krishna, that water being sprinkled on his feet, on the head of Krishna himself, on the head of Rukmini blowing the fan for Krishna, for Sudama here, in fact, all of this makes Sudama have tears in his eyes. Then Krishna says, what a wonderful time we had. He is telling Rukmini, just as anyone would say to their spouse when they meet an old college friend, for instance. He tells Rukmini very lovingly, this is my dear friend, from my Gurukulam days. We had such a wonderful time together serving our Guru. Then he gives a very particular incident that happened one day. The wife of Sandipani said, I want some wood for fuel, for cooking. So immediately Krishna along with Sudama go into the forest to get some wood, logs of wood, and bring it for cooking. But on that day, it is said that there was an unseasonal rain. Suddenly, it was thunderstorm and rain and pouring. And because of that, they could not come back. The water was rising. There was so much rain. So they had to spend the whole night in the forest. And the Guru Sandipani was so worried that early in the morning, as soon as the sunbreak came, he came into the forest looking for the boys, and he was rested only when he could find the boys, and he was in tears looking at the dedication of Krishna and Sudama, and he took them back to the Gurukula. So this shows how the Gurukula was operating, where the Guru looks upon the children as his own children. At the same time, he doesn't have the attachment that might be there when one lives in a parental home, and yet he is full of love, and with this love he takes care of the children. So this is how Krishna and Sudama were taken care by Sandipani. And so these incidents are narrated by Krishna to Rukmini. Rukmini is also very happy to hear. Then Krishna says, oh my friend, you have come all this way, what have you got for me? And then Sudama is hesitating, of course, but then Krishna says, give me what you have, whatever you have. And then with hesitation, Sudama takes this rag cloth with parched rice and he hands it with shaking hands hesitatingly. Krishna just grabs it and he is in such love seeing this. I didn't know that you've got this. Please give it to me. Then he takes one handful and he puts it in his mouth. And then he goes for a second helping. And when he goes for a second helping, Rukmini touches his hand and stops him because she knows that what he has done already is going to be such opulence for Sudama and his family. So she stops him, and then Sudama is so happy that Krishna lovingly took this parched rice, and then they spend some time together. Sudama, as he intended, all he wanted was to get darshan of Krishna. He doesn't speak a word about the fact that he is in such abject poverty, his children are not having food. He doesn't say a word about anything. He's just in tears of joy, having spent time with Krishna. And then he goes back, and Krishna comes out. It is said that as any good host does, Krishna here as a king still comes out of the palace, walks on the road to some distance with all the onlookers, and it is said all the onlookers are all wondering, the residents of Dwaraka, who is this beggar looking person who is so fortunate that our Krishna is walking with him on the street as if he is his dear friend, because they don't know that he is in fact his dear friend. But in any case, they are all so happy to see this. And so Krishna walks a little while and sends him off. And then Sudama comes. He reaches his quarters, his area, drowned in ecstasy. He doesn't know where he has come. So then he suddenly comes there and he sees that there are very huge palatial buildings there. So he realizes that, oh, okay, because I've been in such ecstasy, I've come in the wrong direction. I should retrace my path and go to my place. And when he looks around where he has come, what he has done, suddenly he sees a very opulently dressed, beautiful looking woman come out. And then he says, oh, this looks like my wife. And then she comes and she looks at Sudama and says, oh, Brahman. So she addresses him beautifully. She says, Sudama is such a realized being that her wife addresses him as Brahman. Oh, Brahman, this is our house indeed. You have come here. We don't know what happened, but suddenly there is such opulence here. All the wealth came pouring. This house came up all apparently by the Yogamaya of your dear friend. So he is in tears now that while he asked for nothing, all he had was this most amazing hug and association with Krishna for a day, and that has given him all that he could have ever imagined. So he is in tears, but the amazing part is Sudama does not have any attachment whatsoever to anything. He sees all of this and he says, all of this belongs to Krishna. He has given it. I'm very happy that the children can now eat proper food. The wife can be dressed properly. But he is not attached the least bit to the wealth. He remains as one who has no sense of possession. The one who thinks I own something, even if he owns one piece of cloth, that causes attachment. The one who has tremendous wealth too, but if he thinks he doesn't own anything, there is no attachment. So here Sudama, with all this wealth, doesn't think I am the owner of anything. He doesn't think I am the proprietor. He knows everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore he simply remains the way he was even before all this happened, in the middle of this great opulence. And in this way, Sudama is given the grace of Krishna, and the family is taken care, and the true depth of the friendship of being with Krishna is revealed. And the most important grace that is revealed to Sudama is that if one is completely dedicated to Bhagavan and does not ask for a thing, then whatever he is needing is given to him and he remains unattached to it. There is this verse in Gita where Krishna says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ejanav paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. I take care of those and take care of their welfare, yoga, kshema, for those who are exclusively devoted to me. So because Sudama is exclusively devoted, all his needs were taken care, but he remained unaffected by it. So this story is narrated beautifully by Shuka Brahman, and he says at the end of it that anyone who listens to the story is bestowed with the grace of Krishna. He says, Etat Brahmanya Devasya Shrutva Brahmanyatam Naraha Labhya Bhavo Bhagavati Karma Bandhat Vimuchyate. He says, the one who listens to this story, this is not a story about getting wealth. This is not a story about coming out of poverty of Sudama. This is a story about how the one who doesn't ask for anything is taken care and he remains unaffected and ever surrendered as if nothing changed. And this is true sign of liberation of Sudama. And to listen to this story, Shuka Brahman says, bestows us with devotion to the Lord and release from the false sense of doership.